All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Don't worry, we'll just make fun of you. Legitimately, we'll make fun of you.
Please do.
And it'll be a little easier because you'll laugh. And
Actually,
it'll be fine. Yeah.
I'll take the edge off.
Well, welcome back to And the Rest is Film History.
I just hit the mic. I'm sorry.
Who are you? Who is this? What is this voice?
we literally like right before we started recording, we're like, Josh was like, hey, like, should I like start talking?
Josh
like,
as in you or what?
Yeah, Josh is in me. It's just, it's two voices. Anyway, dumb bit.
Split personality.
Yeah. To my right, Reese is not here this week, but we do have, he designed our graphic for our show.
Okay, designer.
He's an awesome artist person who does all kinds of work. He does music. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, because I'm not
true.
gonna call you like a graphic designer or like a musician because I feel like you just do so much stuff.
That is kind of true.
I don't know.
I
Anyway,
don't know.
it's Josh Nicolas.
Hi, I'm Josh Nicolas. I feel like in my it's actually really funny. I was going through this whole thing in my like Instagram bio. I was like, I do a lot of things. So what do I put? Like, because I don't want to name all of them, but like I also want to like be multifaceted. And I'm like, I just put creative. like I feel like that's just the correct term at this point.
Yeah. I do artsy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
That should
no,
be your next
100%.
one.
I just make things.
An artiste.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm starting to like appreciate like I think like just art for its own sake. Like I think sometimes we like separate like no, I like movies, no, I like music, and it's like it's all like expression.
Creative.
It's all, like,
Yeah,
it's all
Creating.
great.
100%.
Anyway, to my left, I Kojima.
Hello,
Just over
I am back.
It's been literally like 2 months since you've recorded here. We were talking about this.
Crazy. Yeah, I'm wearing long sleeves now. My hair is growing. It's crazy.
She's like a whole different person.
Yeah.
From last time.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Hello.
Life has hardened her. Yeah, she's not doing good.
I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Staying busy, you know.
Yeah. You were just shooting like over the weekend. You've been very busy. Like you were last time I saw you, you were like, I have to work on this shot list. Like, I gotta get all this stuff
I
done.
know. It's been so long and we finally shot a short film. It's called Power Play. Maybe by the time you're listening to it, it's out.
When's that?
I have no idea.
Got it. But it's out now.
Post will take however long, and then we'll submit it to film festivals, and then it will be available online.
Very
Nice.
Fun. Very fun. It's good that you got stuff going on that you can plug. Yeah.
So grateful for my team. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
It was so fun.
It's your team. Yeah. Cool. Well, this week we had Josh prepare the report. Thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yes, I'm very excited about this one. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
So
We were all talking about just how much we loved Edgar Wright. Not I. She's not really a fan of Edgar Wright.
I like Edgar Wright. What are
Yeah.
you saying?
like not I. She actually doesn't like Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
at
What do you mean?
all.
When did I
Just
say
grits her
that?
teeth like during the yeah.
The whole podcast. She's
I
like,
did a whole like film school homework on his style of shooting.
Very fun.
okay, then you'll have a lot to contribute, which
Yeah.
will be great.
Wait, so we all know quite a bit about Edgar Wright then?
Well, he has a very distinct cinematography style
He does.
Definitely.
Definitely.
and editing.
Yes.
That's the big part.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Mad respect.
Well, and then the movie we decided to review this week was Scott Pilgrim versus the World,
Yes.
which has been one of my favorites since I was like 14 years old.
What year did it come out? Do we know?
2010.
2010. Wow. What? Wait, were you 14 when it came out?
No.
I'm not doing the math in my head. So if that's really wrong, then my fault.
No, I saw it like 5 years like after it came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You watched it before I did, for sure.
Really?
I don't think I watched it until late
2
high
weeks
school or
ago.
college.
Okay, yeah.
Like literally like yesterday when we decided to watch this movie. No,
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I feel like that's like there's that movie and there's The Office where I feel like our generation, it's like someone watched it at some point, but everyone's watched it like eventually.
Really?
I feel like everyone's seen an episode of The Office.
Oh,
Right.
The Office, yes. But I've actually met a lot of people where I tell them about Scott Pilgrim and they have no idea what it is.
Huh.
Like, I feel like
Maybe
more
just the
than
film world. People haven't seen it.
Maybe.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
for sure.
I haven't seen The Office, by the way. Awkward.
At all? Like any of
At
it?
all. I've
Like
seen
not even
clips.
random episodes? Okay, yeah. I feel like as long as you've seen clips, it's like Okay, you're on social media. Makes sense. Like everyone
Use
on
for
social media has
examples,
seen an office
yeah.
clip.
Yeah.
in a
eventually.
classroom setting, the teacher's using a
It
clip
always
of
happens.
it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
100%.
It always happens. You should watch it. It's good.
I would love to.
That's gonna be our next podcast. Is the entirety of The Office. We just watch.
You guys should actually do like sitcoms and like talk about like different ones.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Because I know everyone has very different opinions on what they think is good.
Yeah.
I know like Friends is very divided.
People love Friends or hate Friends.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I'm
just
kind of in the
funny.
middle. I enjoy it, but yeah, people
liked
hate
it.
it. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never seen it.
Oh. What sitcoms have you seen?
Probably count them on hand.
Parks. What is that called?
Parks and Rec.
Yes.
I almost just went for Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
No one
That.
says. No one calls it that.
No.
But
That.
yes,
Lame people.
it's a good one.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it's
was
a very good
funny.
Yeah.
I'm
Any
like,
others?
wow, culture. I didn't grow up watching TV shows, American TV shows. Is Full House a
Yeah.
sitcom?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that I have seen growing up
Okay.
in Japan.
Okay.
What else? Maybe that's it.
Full House and Parks and Rec.
Those are good ones.
Get
Yeah,
ready for
they're
our
great.
episode on sitcoms.
Oh my gosh.
Sitcoms.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have to like start watching a bunch.
I
And then do the
know.
episode like.
It's like when
a
I
year
have
from
time,
now.
I want to
Yeah,
watch a
literally.
movie. That's why.
I get it.
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
anime.
Yeah, that too.
Maybe we could do an episode on that, and you and Reese can just talk, and I can just be
Oh
real
my
quiet.
gosh.
Have you? Do you not
Yes.
watch anime, or have you not seen any?
I've seen we did a Hayao Miyazaki episode, and I've seen 2 of his
yeah.
movies, and I've seen 1 episode of One Punch Man, and that is it.
Did you not care for the rest of the episodes?
It was kind of depressing.
okay.
Depressing.
For
So
sure.
One Punch Man,
interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
I feel like it's okay.
I don't know.
Well, then don't dive deep into the really depressing animes because it gets dark. There's some really sad, deep animes out there, but that's fine. All good.
I'll forgive you. Yeah,
Not
No
for
worries.
everyone.
Yeah, no, 100%.
yeah,
I feel like Scott Pilgrim has a very anime feel.
definitely.
Like
Yeah.
it's very
Comic
like
book.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's super like dynamic and just it's
Yes.
constantly moving and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
I-
excited.
yeah. Do you wanna just get
Yeah,
going? with
yeah,
it?
yeah. So
what made
okay.
you choose this person as a report?
So I used to be a film student.
I did
and then
not. Wait, I think I did know this.
So I did not. So in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but everyone was applying to colleges. So I was like, okay, I'll just go to community college, but I'm not sure what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I had grown up kind of making like home videos and stuff, and my uncle was really into like editing, so he would show me like iMovie growing up, and so I basically started doing. I started getting into just video like production.
Yeah.
My senior year of high school, and not to flex or anything, but like I was really good at it. Just compared to compared to
Okay, Josh J.
compared to the people that like I was in class with, like
Yeah.
it felt like it was actually kind of funny because whenever we would do like video projects, he would always choose like the best one from each class,
Yeah.
and like show them to the rest of the classes, the other periods.
Yeah.
And there was a point where like I was always with a really good group who kind of trusted me to kind of just lead.
Redirecting
and,
these?
Yeah, I was. And a lot of, because I mean, obviously they're like high school projects, so they're pretty like small and condensed, but like the prompts were pretty like creative.
Yeah.
And
3
so
million at least.
was exactly. So like I ended up like just like getting the best one in all of them, and I was like, maybe I should do this like for life. So I was like, okay, this is cool. So then I went into community college and was taking obviously my GEs, but then also I was in film classes, and then I think eventually I was a
Gave
little
up on your dream.
kind of like honestly like I remember there was a point where a couple maybe like 2 years in I was not super like I had friends who were already like on like sets and who had connections and who were like constantly like out like on the weekend shooting.
Yeah.
And I remember like it was just weekends were just really hard for me because I either was working or we had like church stuff, and like I was like, oh, I can't really be on sets.
Yeah.
And even when I was on sets, I would feel kind of anxious because there's just so much going on, and I felt like out of place. Because a lot of me was like, oh, I wanna write and I want to direct, and I loved writing for sure. I felt like that was like an area that I really enjoyed, but yeah, I kind of was like, you know what, like this is really great, and there's people that I think are built for this that are like really, you know, they're awesome. Yeah, exactly.
Hi, Kojima. Yeah.
And I remember I even had a talk with someone that does it professionally, and he has like a family, and I remember my dad was like, you know, you want something that, you know, you could have like a consistent income with or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation. But then I got advice that from this guy who does it professionally. He's constantly doing new projects, and that kind of scared me because I was like, I like being settled in somewhere and like really getting to like grow somewhere opposed to like constantly hopping around. I think it just wasn't for me, so I ended up not doing that. But then I fell in love with graphic design, so I found what I do love doing, and obviously that's great. But
Yeah, and you still like film, and here we are.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Which is cool.
And I think so. The reason why I chose this film is it was one of the films I watched during kind of like that stage of life that I was really getting into films. And I've always watched movies growing up. I watched a lot of like 80s, 90s movies growing up. So I had a lot of nostalgia for like, you know, like 80s movies like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, like Karate Kid, all of those. And so eventually I was like, oh, like movies are deeper than like just things that you just watch and enjoy. And then I started getting into it. And Scott Pilgrim was the movie that I fell in love with because it was so fun, and it was exactly what I wanted in a movie. It's like escapism and like just this world that I feel like exists in my head but not in the real world. And so yeah, that's why I chose this one. So
love it.
Yeah. So I have the synopsis. I'm gonna go ahead and read that.
Okay.
The synopsis. He's prepared.
I tried
to tell
my
us
best.
about this
I tried my best. Okay. So the synopsis says, as bass guitarist for a garage rock band, Scott Pilgrim has never had trouble getting a girlfriend. Usually the problem is getting rid of them. But when Ramona Flowers skates into his heart, he finds she has most troublesome baggage of all, an army of ex-boyfriends who will stop at nothing to eliminate him from her list of suitors. Which actually is not true. It's not ex-boyfriends, it's exes.
It's exes, yeah.
Yeah, which is literally like a gag in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I you know what? I think this movie is, I feel like for Edgar Wright, and you know, you were talking about Edgar Wright having such a iconic style of just like cinematography, but also just editing. It's so quick. I feel like out of all his movies, like Scott Pilgrim is like just the most stylized one.
Definitely.
Of just like it's so heavy comic book like inspired and heavily like video game inspired, and it takes all these mediums and just makes it into this, you know, this crazy 2-hour ride of emotions and fun colors and quick edits and everything, and it's so good. I loved it.
Incredible.
And I think with Scott Pilgrim too, it has this huge it has this like anyone can watch it and be like instantly like pulled in, because it's just so dynamic and it's just constantly moving, and it's like I feel like for some people it could be a little much, but for a lot of people it like catches your attention, you know?
Definitely. I had funny enough, when I was in high school, I had another podcast, and we reviewed it on that podcast. And what I said then was that it's kind of like a YouTube movie in the best way. Like it cuts out all the fluff, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. Like very attention grabbing, definitely.
That's true. Yeah. That's a good point.
So was it a comic book at first, and then Edgar made that into a film, or is it the other way? Or?
So it was a comic book. So it's actually really interesting. So the comic book series was written by Brian Lee O'Malley. That's his name. He's from Canada. He actually was very involved in the film too. And so he started writing the series, and the first book came out in 2004, and the last one came out in 2010, which is the same year the movie came out.
Like after the movie, right?
Yeah.
Or while
Yeah,
the movie was filming or something
So
like that.
I think, so from what I believe, the film finished. I mean, it was shooting like a year before, but it came out right after the last book came out. But because the writer was on set, he basically helped to kind of write the story, and was like, because it's actually very true to the comics.
Yeah.
The only thing is that there's just like extra side storylines in the comics and like characters that aren't in the movie.
Yeah.
But there's 6 books, which this is actually kind of interesting to me. So they all have different titles, and Scott Pilgrim versus the World is the title of the second book.
That was okay.
It's not even like the first book or the last one. It's like really interesting. So the first one's called Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life. And then second one is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Third one is Scott Pilgrim in the Infinite Sadness. Fourth one, Scott Pilgrim Gets It Together. Fifth one is Scott Pilgrim versus the Universe.
I remember that.
And then the last one is Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour. Which is very interesting, because like I'm like very curious as to, I couldn't find any answers for it, but I'm very curious as to why the movie was named after the second one, but not like, I don't know.
I think it's the most ridiculous one.
It sounds. I feel like it rolls off the tongue.
It does, yeah.
Like it's not. I feel like calling it an Infinite Sadness is like.
No,
it kind of is.
Sounds different. Yeah.
Triangle
100%.
sadness.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of promises what the movie's going to be as well, like a very actiony.
Actually, no, for real, it really
comedy.
does.
The universe was too big for the story.
Yeah.
I know, for
Yeah.
real.
So
Exactly.
the world.
Couldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was. So what happened was, after the first novel came out, the publisher of the novel approached the writer and was like, "Hey, we think we think it should be turned into a film." And he was actually very like skeptical at first, because he was like, "Yeah, I don't know how it would translate," or he thought it would just be turned into a generic film that's not that good, and like whatever.
Yeah.
And so I believe what happened was, it was a process between like actually like writing it out, but then they had Edgar Wright attached to the project early on, so I think that's what kind of was like, okay, you know what, he trusted him with the series, and for good reason. It turned out really
What
well.
has he like shot already at that point? Do you know?
So at that point, it was already the I call it the big 3, which is it's Shaun of the Dead,
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz, and The World's End.
We hadn't done The World's End yet.
Yeah, that was after.
Was it after?
Yeah.
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 Never mind then. Just the 2. Thank you for
So that was
correcting
the
me.
third one.
It was the third
Scott.
movie he made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So
I remember watching Hot Fuzz in college, and that like
Well.
fast editing, clean
Mhm.
shots. So it makes sense why that would be like enough to trust
yeah,
that comic book
100%.
style.
Yeah, because I think Shaun of the Dead was like his first like big film, and
Yeah.
that showed his level of like visual storytelling, and just like making exposition interesting, and not just having like throwaway lines or whatever,
Definitely.
to like be able to tell a story. And then Hot Fuzz, I think, brought in a lot of these like interesting transitions, these fast clips. Yeah, exactly. So all culminating to Scott Pilgrim. So, and then later on, Baby Driver, which is I think honestly his biggest movie, I would assume.
I think it was the biggest box office wise, and I think also like most of the people who don't know Edgar Wright know that
Yeah,
one. I feel
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like whenever I tell people, like, if I'm talking to someone about movies, I'm like, oh, my favorite director is Edgar Wright. Sometimes they'd be like, oh, like, I don't know. Like, I would usually say, oh, have you seen Baby Driver? And they'll be like, oh yeah, for sure. And then then it's like, okay, then it opens it up. But yeah.
A really strong opening shot, Baby Driver.
Yes.
The one he's walking around town, and all the timing was hitting
Yes.
perfectly to the music, and
The
So
entire
good.
movie, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really like that.
I watched that opening scene the other day. So just the entire opening scene, like with the car chase.
I watched a music video that was like similar to that opening scene, and I would love to ask if there was inspiration based on that music video.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I wish I knew the name of the music video.
Yeah. The artist, yeah. I don't know.
The important parts.
The
audience can do the research.
Yeah.
Is that enough clues?
Yeah. You guys
Comment
can type
below.
in the comments. There was an interview where Edgar Wright was actually talking about how he made sure that he got the rights to all the music beforehand, and he was writing down the songs in the screenplay. So he already knew what songs he was wanting to use, and he would make sure he get the rights and everything. And then he would like just shoot them according to like the music. At least I know that was that was true for Baby Driver, but music has always been like a huge thing. Even in Shaun of the Dead, there's a lot of moments that it's lined up with the music, and that was like his first film, you know.
I wonder if he has like a music background as well, or he just loves music.
He just loves music.
Yeah.
Well, even Scott Pilgrim, there's a lot of like music, and it has to do with a lot of music.
It's so cool because everything in Scott Pilgrim is actually I'm 99% sure everything is original music, like was written for the film and stuff like that. Because I know that the writer Brian Lee O'Malley's favorite band is the Smashing Pumpkins, which is actually where the third book title gets its title, The Infinite Sadness.
Okay.
Which is one of their album is Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. If I showed you the album cover, you would recognize it.
Okay.
It's very it's very iconic.
Okay.
And so I think that's where like the sound of like their band, like the Sex Bomb, that's where they got that sound. It's like reminiscent of like Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that. And then I know that even my favorite song in the movie is the one that Brie Larson sings.
Black Sheep.
Yeah, Black Sheep. And so what's interesting is when the movie came out, they released a song, and I think it's by a band called Metric.
Yes.
So they didn't have the Brie Larson version until very recently.
Like a year ago, yeah.
And they released it for the anniversary. That version's so good. And she sings it herself, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that she could sing.
It's legitimately taking restraint to not like cut you off right now because I like this thing.
No,
I'm just
you're
like,
good,
no,
you're
it's this part of the.
No, you're good. You're good.
This movie,
please do. If I get anything wrong, please do.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's so good. All the music in it is
really good.
Is so good. I can go on and on.
And we will. There's a song called "By Your Side," which is do you know that one? By Your Side on the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack.
Which one is that one?
It's so when they're going on the date and like Ramona like takes him back to his place and they're like floating like towards the door. Do you know that bit?
Yes.
They play that song and it's a cover of a Sade song.
Oh, really?
And it's really, really good. And it's like very emotional. And one time when I was a freshman in college, I played it while doing homework and got really sad for no reason.
Aww.
You know what? The music
Power music. Literally.
You know what that reminds me of? This is kind of a random one, but have you ever seen Moulin Rouge?
Yes.
It reminds me of that. Of like kind of. I thought you were saying no.
No,
I hate Moulin Rouge.
Have you seen it?
No.
It's good. It's a good movie.
I know of the film, and I've been wanting to watch it. I just haven't had the opportunity to do so.
I don't know if I imagined this, but I'm 99% sure this is true. But like, there's part of it where there's like during one of the scenes, they like kind of recorded these covers of like classic love songs. Yeah. And they have this like almost like medley of love songs during one of the scenes. Yeah. And that's what it reminded me of.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember seeing that clip first, and it made me want to watch the movie. Yeah. And then I realized I forget his name, but the guy who directed it, he was the one who did the Great Gatsby, the new one.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yes. And I think Baz Luhrmann is also. Yeah, Baz Luhrmann's also someone that I don't know. I just like weird movies, like really out there, like fun. Yeah.
He did that Romeo and Juliet movie in the 90s.
He did
that
with
one's so
Leonardo
weird.
DiCaprio.
Yeah.
That was
Romeo
fun.
plus Juliet.
Romeo
it had
plus
the little
Juliet.
like cross.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah.
And what's crazy? Okay, fun fact, random.
Yes.
But they like take the actual script, right?
Yeah.
Of Romeo and Juliet and apply it to like, I don't know, wherever it takes place in modern day 80s or whatever.
It's a weird mix of like weird like Shakespearean time, but also like the 90s.
Yeah,
like
100%.
it's a very bizarre movie. Have you seen that one?
Mm-hmm. I love it.
It's like if someone took like a concept art and was like, let's just make this into a whole movie.
Right.
you know? It's
Yeah,
so
just like
funny.
a weird, like you see it at like a museum, you're like, that's an interesting piece, a little out
Yeah.
there, but then it's like, no,
It's like made for Tumblr, you know, of like Leonardo DiCaprio and like the armor,
Yeah.
and like
Halloween
the aquarium
costume?
scene, yeah. You're just like, wow, this is literally what just people want to see. But
LOL.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But
good.
so Edgar Wright actually is known for a lot of his editing and a lot of his just quick transitions and his stylistic just like cinematography and everything. And I think that there's a lot of really cool moments in Scott Pilgrim that are worth noting.
Yes.
And I think that there's a lot of really funny moments that's like it's so quick that you could miss it, or
Yep.
like an average person watching it could miss it. But if you know like how it's being made, or you kind of like dig deeper into it,
Yeah.
you kind of are like, wait, that's actually kind of cool how he did that.
What's the best joke in Scott Pilgrim?
Do you have one? Is
I have 3 that
Okay.
are like runners up.
like joke or like
Line.
there's a lot of visual gags
Like
that are really
anything.
funny. Okay.
Any type of joke. Yeah.
The one that I will literally watch this 3-second clip on YouTube constantly, but it's the moment where Knives knocks on their door.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? And she's like,
one of mine.
"Hey, is Scott there?" And then the camera
Yep.
pans. He's like, "No," and then he flies out
He
the
just
window.
left.
He just left.
It's in the trailer.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was
I should have
looking over that.
rewatched the trailer. I would have been interested to see what a 2010 Scott Pilgrim trailer
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like
One of
yeah,
the strongest scenes.
That's one of them.
bits.
One of my other favorites, because it's so messed up, is like the scene where he breaks up with Knives, and he's just like, "Yeah, it's not gonna work out." She's like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then he just like leaves. Like,
Yeah,
he just steps out
yeah.
of frame, and he's like so happy.
And it's
so
like
good.
everything's turning black.
Yep.
Oh, it's so good.
It's like yep, and then he just leaves, and the music is just like really happy.
Yeah.
Freaking love that. Yeah.
There's a moment where he is at the party, and he's like, "Oh, like have you heard of like this girl?" And then he's like, "Oh, what does he look like?" And it's just a really
That
badly
was my
drawn
third
picture,
one. Oh my God.
and it's like, "Oh, Ramona Flowers."
yeah, yeah. Literally. Yes, that's Ramona Flowers. Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, do you know
s-
this girl?" Of course, I know everybody.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good.
She's got some battle scars, dude. You remember that bit?
Which is funny. So Brian Lee O'Malley actually drew that. Just drew that picture. There's a lot of like his art that he made for the film. That like anytime you would see the Scott Pilgrim like styled art,
Yeah.
he drew that for the film, or it was taken straight from the comics, which is really cool.
The flashback bits. Yeah.
A lot of the flashback bits, and then there's like the one where it was like where this is like a small moment when they're having the date at his house.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, your hair's getting long," and it's like it's like a cartoon drawn picture of him. It's
Yeah.
like, and then it's like a little caption like hasn't cut in whatever weeks or
1,000
something.
days. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next frame he has a hat on.
Yeah.
And you're just
I
like,
love
"What
that
the heck?"
joke.
It's so good.
Yeah, your hair's getting shaggy. Yeah, and it's just like
And then the sound effects was like,
Yeah.
like he ran to go get a hat. So good.
So good. So meta.
the bit where
no, for real.
bit where Brie Larson is like she's standing
Yes,
exactly
in front of the
poster. So good.
The line before that I can't say, but it's really funny.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Because it's
Yeah.
so good. It's
Yeah.
like just the way that they like use these gags to actually move the story along
Yeah.
is so good, because they're not just throwaway lines. They're like things that actually have to do with
Yeah.
the story. And this like I was watching a lot of like just video essays on just Edgar Wright and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And someone was talking about how, I think this was in the Every Frame a Painting one.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how in a lot of just modern comedies, it only plays towards your ears.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, you hear a joke and like maybe there's like some slapstick in there, but it's not always. But like
Mostly dialogue too. It's
Yeah.
not even like sound effects. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so like with Edgar Wright, he always uses these moments, like these visual moments, to kind of like run like a gag. But then also it's useful for the story.
Yeah.
Which is really good. And there's like even times where it's like even to like show intensity, right? I was thinking about that scene at the party where Aubrey Plaza's character, who she's so good in that movie.
Yes.
But the character where she's like, I forbid you to date Ramona, and like all the lights are getting like dark.
Yeah.
They're like dimming down, and then the moment he like snaps back, the lights like come back
Yeah.
on. But it's not like they're actually dimming the lights, and you can tell that with everything, it's just shot so well, and it's so good.
Yeah. If you I've listened to a bit of the commentary for this movie, and it is great. Like stuff you wouldn't even notice on several watches. Like there was one bit where he was like, yeah, we made the lines and like the colors simpler on like, there's a shot of like his house and like they made it simpler than like actual life, like just by a little bit to make it look more like a graphic novel. Like it's pretty wild. Yeah.
Which it was already kind of like black and white, right?
The
like
book
whenever
is,
they would
yeah.
show, or when they would show like his like house or apartment thing, because it was always snowing, right? And like I felt like his apartment was kind of like concrete, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty gray.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's so good. There's like so many moments that like are so reminiscent of even like a lot of the jokes that are actually just written in the novel.
Yeah.
They play on in the movie in such a way where it's like it's digestible for people who maybe don't understand what those references are.
Yeah.
Like there was like the one moment where it's like it's just so funny where he's like, I need a pee, and he goes in the bathroom and there's like the pee bar and it just like goes down, and it's like it's so random, but you know it's like a video game reference because of the way that they show it, and like it's like flashing and all that. And
Yeah.
It's this really interesting way that he's able to, and I guess maybe this is due to the comics, but the way that they're able to make it both like a comic like inspired movie, but also a video game inspired movie.
Yeah.
And also a music inspired movie.
Definitely.
Like it's so crazy.
Yeah.
So
What a picture. Yeah.
I know, for real. And like the fact that like I mean by the time I watched it, I was getting into movies. And then now it's like I look at it and I'm like, I know all these actors from like now like all these really big movies, and
Definitely.
like half of them aren't in the Avengers. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know about that when I first watched it, and every time I rewatch it, I like recognize a new actor. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
Aww.
Even the Wallace, the roommate, is like super famous now because he's in Succession.
yeah. Which he's like the best in the whole movie.
Incredible.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good.
It must have been a really fun movie to act in. Just
Yeah.
like having fun.
Yeah.
So silly.
Saying the most random things, doing the most random things.
Yeah.
There was a gag actually that isn't even, it's a deleted scene that I thought was so funny, but it takes, I understand why they cut it, but like it could take away from like a potentially like emotional scene. But it's a part where right after he fights the girl and they're in that club.
Roxy, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like at the bar, and there's this line that he says in the movie, but in the deleted scene they have a gag that goes with it. But he's like, is there anyone you haven't slept with? And in the deleted scene, it's a wider shot.
Yeah.
And he says it, and then everyone in the back just like raises their hand, and it's literally like everyone, and it's so good because it's like the shot does not change.
Yeah.
It's just you see in the background just everyone's like hands like
Just
go up,
everyone's just-
and it's so funny because it's like such a small thing, but it's just such a funny gag.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was so good.
Oh my gosh.
And like the transitions of like whenever they would switch scenes,
Yeah.
it was in the middle of like a reverse shot. So
Right.
it's like it's almost like I remember I heard someone say it's like breaking the rules of film in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
Of like switching scenes in the middle of a reverse shot.
That was in Spider-Man Far From Home. They did something very similar, and I was like,
Did
man,
they?
loved Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, it was like, I forget, there was a bit where he like, so there's a bit in Scott Pilgrim where like someone starts to turn around, and then like there's a scene transition, not even a scene transition, you just cut, and it's a different person, and it's a different scene.
Okay.
Do you remember that bit? It sounds like all the transitions.
Yeah,
in the movie,
yeah,
but-
that's why I'm
Yeah.
you're good.
But it's there's a Spider-Man in that movie. Like he does like, I think it's still like Tom Holland, but like he turns around and it's like he's in a different location. It's a different
Sure.
scene. I was like, dude, loves
Sure.
Scott Pilgrim. Yeah.
It's such and I think like a lot of just that style has really like, you know, moved on towards like a lot of modern cinema now because just like the smaller like stuff like that where it's like if you're watching Far From Home, that's maybe not something you catch because it's not like right in front of your eyes, but it's something where it's like, oh, I kind of see, you know, the where that was inspired by. Because even like a lot of in like Scott Pilgrim where it's like you would have characters who would jump into a scene that are not supposed to be in that scene, but they're used as a transition. So there's that part where like Scott's like looking at Ramona and he's like daydreaming, and then Steven like comes in, he's like Scott, and then like you see his face come. I'm so sorry. You see his like face come in, right? But then like the it's a new shot and it's they're in the house like
band practice. Yeah.
Which is so like interesting to kind of like it not only wakes Scott up, it like wakes up the viewer because you're like, what the heck?
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
The amount of effort that Edgar Wright puts into all his movies is like unnecessary, but it's like you can tell that he just loves what he does and he wants to make it the best thing possible.
Yeah.
Is he working on anything right now, or?
I don't know.
So I heard I was you know like kind of peeking around doing my research and all that, and someone said that, or I could have sworn that they had talks about a Baby Driver 2, which I don't think he's ever done a sequel.
Well, the Cornetto trilogy, but they're not like direct sequels.
Yes. But like, because I remember he said that he would love to do another one, but he wanted to do something else first, which was Last Night in Soho. Have you seen that one?
I still haven't seen that one. That's the only one I haven't seen.
That one's good. It's I think it's maybe the least. It felt the least Edgar Wright to me. I don't know if you disagree.
Right.
But it's definitely it's a horror movie. So it's not as like
scary. Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Was this horror? I remember it being trippy.
It's very like, I think maybe for him it was his take on like more of like a horror movie. Yeah. It's definitely a thriller for sure.
I love it.
It deals with like kind of like this kind of murder mystery. Yeah. Almost where you're trying to figure out what's happening, but it is very trippy because it's interesting. So a lot of even like the transitions there, it's really notable more for its like practical effects. Like there's this one scene where this is a little off topic, I'm sorry. But there's the one scene where the main character is dancing with this person, but her perspective is from she's seeing through the eyes of someone else who lived that. Yeah. So it's constantly switching from the main character to like the girl that she's seeing it through. Yeah. If that makes sense.
That like it's you cut back and forth and it's different people.
But then like it like she switches in the middle of like a turn because they're dancing.
Yeah. It's like and it's all in the same take.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I've seen behind the scenes shooting that.
And the amount of like you were talking about kind of like the coordination that goes into like all these and stuff and it's crazy. Yeah. I know that Michael Cera actually said that it was like the most fun he's had shooting a movie. Oh, that's nice. Like he was talking about how because he did a lot of his own stunts in there, and a lot of like he was actually like doing a lot of like the fighting moves and stuff. Yeah. And there's like I remember it was one of those GQ videos of like they go through all their movies they've done. Yeah. So I remember he was talking about how much fun that movie was and how big of a fan of Edgar Wright that he was at the time, and he was just like. It was just such a wonder to work with. I feel like it's just always fun to be on set, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Especially in a movie like that where like you're constantly like running these like gags or like these like fun moments. And yeah, it sounds super. And like obviously they like doing a lot of things practically too. Yeah. So it's definitely much more involved than if you were doing like a Marvel movie and it's all CGI.
Just on a green screen, yeah.
Definitely. Which is actually interesting. Did you know that Edgar Wright was supposed to direct a Marvel movie?
I did know that. I'm still kind of pissed about that he didn't end up doing it.
Yeah.
Not pissed, but I'm just like, that would have been cool to see.
It would have been really cool. Did you know that? No. So have you ever seen Ant-Man?
Yes.
So he was actually, I don't know what exactly happened or how like deep into it he was, but I think he was working on the original screenplay, right?
I think he finished the original screenplay, and then I think what happened was like he wanted to make it not as integrated into the MCU, and the MCU was like, no, we don't really want that. So like they kind of left over like creative differences.
Is it the one that he goes into the quantum realm?
It was the
Not
first
that one. The one.
Oh, first one.
The first one of that series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
And
that's like the third
he's
one.
Still, the third one's Quantumania, but he was still credited for the first Ant-Man, so he's still in the credits because of just how much pre-production work he did on the movie.
Oh
wow,
that
I
makes
didn't know that.
sense.
Yeah.
So he was already pretty deep in it. It seems like.
I think
He
so.
was-
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I have you seen it recently?
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's I actually it's one of I actually as far as like Marvel movies like I like his character a lot.
Yeah.
And I actually was watching it and I felt like I could see a lot of moments that were like kind of Edgar Wright inspired, or it's like
Yeah.
it's not quite there, but you're like I could see how Edgar Wright would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a joke where he keeps like running into the door. Do you know
Yeah.
that bit?
Mhm.
I was like, that's a very Edgar Wright bit.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Have you are you familiar with the fence gag that Edgar Wright does in the
Yes.
trilogy
Yes.
of him?
Do you know what this is?
Like going over a fence.
Like
I
hopping
remember
over
it
the
from
fence.
Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. Where he like jumps over all of them, and the last one he like does a front flip over it.
Yeah.
Just very obviously a trampoline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Nick Frost just like runs directly into it,
Yeah.
just breaks it. Yeah. It's in each Cornetto trilogy movie, there's a different joke about hopping over a fence.
Yeah.
And so in the first one, it's that he like grabs it and tries to jump over it,
And it, like, falls
It
over?
falls
Okay,
over.
yeah.
And then the second one is the trampoline one, and then the World's End. I think he thinks it's gonna like fall over, so he runs directly into it, and it doesn't fall over, and he just like hits it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Those
good.
are fun. Like as a director to have those like consistent themes in different movies that you do.
Yeah.
That must
Yeah.
be really fun as a creative.
It's kind of like the Three Colors thing a little bit, which like, but it's not connected in that way. But there's like little stuff that like connects all of them, which is really fun.
Yeah.
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 And especially with like those three movies, it all stars Simon Pegg.
Yes.
So
and
like
Nick Frost.
it's probably so funny that they are on set, and then I can see Edgar Wright just going up to him like, okay, we're gonna do the fence thing, and they're like, got it, cool,
Ready.
They know exactly
you
what they're
remember.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard that, I think a couple of years ago they had talked about doing another Cornetto trilogy, like 3 more movies, like skewering like 3 different genres. Because the original one is like horror, comedy, action comedy, and then sci-fi comedy.
Yeah.
I don't think they should do it, but I don't think they will. I think that was like a thing they were talking about a couple years ago, and then they like just haven't done it since. But
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I would ever complain about a
No,
new
you're
Edgar
right.
Wright movie. Like I feel like I'd just be like along for the ride and be like, I'm down.
yeah,
Cool.
true.
Yeah.
And those movies are so good. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And when it comes to like Baby Driver 2, like you see how well he works on like a much bigger budget.
Yeah.
And then like you know with the trilogy, it's like much smaller, more condensed stories.
Right.
It's just so well done.
Yes.
It's very good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If you could have a conversation with him, what would you like to ask?
Ooh. Dang, that's a good question.
Michael, edit out the long pause just now, if you could. Just make it seem like we know what we're talking about and that we're ready.
I think I would ask him how I would want to pick his brain on how he's able to take all these different aspects of art and really visually be able to like combine them in a really good way. I almost want to ask him like what do you take inspiration from?
Yeah.
In a sense of like I'm sure he probably just sees like in his everyday life. I feel like there's things that he'll see that he'll take inspiration from. Like I want to know those things.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Because obviously he'll listen to a song, so I wonder if like he hears a song and in his mind, like maybe before Baby Driver like came out, was he thinking of like, oh, like this kind of sounds like a getaway driver, like
Yeah.
driving through the streets or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's probably so interesting to kind of pick his brain and be like, how does it work?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm kind of a similar way where I'm like, I would just want to ask him like what his life is like just kind of like,
Oh.
like, cause he works so hard. Like, what does he do when he like clocks off? Like, what does he do? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and like I saw an interview with him when he was 17 and it was like,
Yeah.
have you seen that video?
I've seen clips of when he was young.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
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 It's like insane. Like he's on BBC and like he's like talking about he made like a stop motion film, and like he's like just like this little like 17-year-old dork, like just like on television talking about this contest he won, and it's just like this wild like, do you like what's his life been like since then? Like because he like it's one of those things that's interesting. Like he definitely would have been made fun of for like making like a stop motion movie when he was like 17, but like now that he's like 50 or whatever, and he's like one of the most successful directors in the world, like it's like no one cares. Like I don't know.
No, 100%.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good one. It was funny because I was watching like some of those old interviews, and I was like, he looks like Johnny Depp, like young Johnny.
A little
Depp.
bit.
He had like the hair, the parted hair, and it was like his face was shaven. It was like I just thought it was funny.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's wearing like a suit jacket, and you're like, bro, you're 17. Like, wear a t-shirt. Like, it's fine.
I remember I watched the video that you sent me. There was a YouTube video that was titled "How Edgar Wright Saved My Filmmaking Career."
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
something like that. And the guy was talking about how he got rejected from films. Oh no. So he got into something, and he talked about how he like tweeted out. He was like, "Oh, if you ever want to get into blank, I don't remember what it is." So if
Columbia, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you want to get in that, like all you need to do is talk about Edgar Wright and Scott Pilgrim or something.
Yeah.
And then, like Edgar Wright like tweeted at him and was like, "Oh, I actually never got into like film schools."
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about, because I remember he was talking about how he made like a super silly short film just by him, like him and a couple friends, and he was like he didn't know how to get into film, so he was like, I'm just gonna make a film.
Yeah.
And he just put some friends together, and they made like a super silly he said that it was his take on like Dirty Harry. And how he just made this like silly version of it. And it's funny because you watch it and there's all these gags and you're like, oh, it's the same guy. He's still like running all these funny gags.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. So he's obviously bringing what he wanted to do as a younger, as a young adult, like maybe like 17 to like, when he was doing that to now, and he's like still running those gags, and he's like, like 40 years old, 30 years old, when he was like, let's just do a fence gag for like 3 movies.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, it's so funny. But then these movies are also very like adult and like gory and like violent. And it's like, but like, let's do a fence gag.
But literally just funny. The most childish. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hot Fuzz is so funny. I was thinking about, you remember the bit with the swan? Like the swan gets loose and he has to capture the swan.
Yeah, 100%.
So good.
So good.
It's amazing. Yeah. 100%.
Definitely. Cool. Well, did you have anything else?
You know what? I don't. I did want to kind of ask and kind of put this out there.
Yeah.
But for me, like Edgar Wright was kind of the director / like Scott Pilgrim being the film that kind of made me be like, wow, film is actually a lot deeper than you would think.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember what that was for you, or that moment for you? Was it a certain film or director or experience you had that you were like, dang, like film is actually, it's a whole world out there?
Yeah. Well, you've shared on the podcast the one that, were there other ones besides Beauty and the Beast? And you can share the Beauty and the Beast story as well.
Yeah. That, and honestly, recently I was thinking about my upbringing, being brought up in a Christian home where I read the Bible, which is like a whole storyline.
Yes.
By this Christian God, right? And
he definitely did write it, yeah. Written by God.
or people.
I'm glad he kept the rights.
You know what? Best-selling book of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in front of Harry Potter, probably.
And growing up, reading stories, I was like, wow, this is incredible. I was just thinking about the impact that is going to have in my like way to approach story. And like, it was a bit where, it was very influential in my upbringing and still now. And I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
The Bible was your influence.
It's like technically, it's like legally the right answer.
Right.
Like, where did you get your inspiration
And
from?
The Bible.
Funny enough, a tale as old as time.
No, literally.
There's a theme going on, I guess.
Yeah. The Bible.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine is the Odyssey. So
Okay.
No, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a really old book.
You know what? I was just gonna take it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Trying to
I
get
don't know.
something just as old.
Yeah, literally. I don't know.
What
What's an
else?
old
What
book?
else? I was also thinking about anime and watching anime.
Okay.
Like, especially recently shooting this short as inspo, like we were going through different films, but then I was watching an anime show and some of the shots I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like I want to
Yeah.
do it. And I feel like also when it comes to lighting, like there's certain like the food shots or like the lighting shots
Yeah.
in anime that just like looks so good that like I know it's gonna have influence
Yeah.
as I make more things.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is a little off topic, but are you familiar with like the Akira slide?
Yes.
Okay. I actually told Josh that was like one of my first ideas for what to bring to the podcast. I was like, can we just talk about the Akira,
Akira
slide,
slide,
just
yeah.
for an hour? But
He was like, animate? No.
that's like one of
Right.
like the biggest. That's like one of the biggest like anime inspirations in American filmmaking. I feel like is Akira.
I knew it was in Nope. That's the only one I know it was in. But I know it's in a ton of other stuff as well.
It's
Right.
in a lot of animation for sure.
Yeah.
You see it in a lot. You see it a lot in like Cartoon Network shows, which is really funny. But they're animators who are like film students, so
Yeah.
if you can work it in,
Yeah.
of course you would do. But
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. Other than that, these days, the living life is the inspiration.
that's legally the right answer. That's a great answer.
The Bible and living life.
Yeah.
Table tennis, beach volleyball,
Yes.
Yes.
bonding, community.
Yes.
Friendship.
Friendship.
That's been
Just
my
community.
inspo, you know?
Familial
amazing.
love. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice.
You?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think there was like really one movie that I was like, I want to be a filmmaker. Like it was just kind of like, it was kind of a series of movies. I think it was the early MCU, like when I saw the first Avengers in the theater. Weirdly, the Lego movie, it's kind of an embarrassing one for me.
No,
but,
I
like,
freaking love the
No
Lego
shame
movie.
at all.
What the heck?
because I actually around that time I used to make a lot of like Lego stop motion stuff, and so I do
I love doing that.
incredible. It's like it's a lot of fun if you're an introvert and you don't have a lot of friends in middle school.
Sure.
And
Yeah, I get you.
that
That was me. 100%.
Yeah. Make some Lego movies. But yeah, so that one came out around like when I was in middle school, and so I decided when it was coming out to make my own like half an hour long like Lego like feature
Wow.
technically. And so it's like that movie is still very special to me. But yeah, so there's that one. Like Christopher Nolan, The Dark Knight, Inception. I remember those like blew my mind.
course.
Yeah,
Classics.
Scott Pilgrim was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. There you go.
And Living Life and the Bible, what she
And
said.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
And more recently, this year specifically, I was introduced to like more like Asian like classics, like Wong Kar-wai. I was like, wow, how come I have like not seen these? Like the colors, and like watching Old Boy for the first time in the theaters when it came back.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is genius. You know,
I would love to watch Old Boy in theaters. What the
it
heck?
was amazing.
That's so cool.
I'm trying to do that. I don't see old movies in theaters ever, and I kind of want
It's
to.
amazing.
Yeah.
Is there certain theaters that do it, or like
It was a thing couple months ago.
sure, like
It
an
was
event
like a special.
that they're doing? Like
Yeah.
an anniversary.
And
type
recently I've
thing?
been watching more French films, which is
Okay.
its own beast of like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how like time, location.
I'm very inspired. Like, and I think we should definitely do an episode on the French New Wave, because I think that idea of just people like, just like picking up a camera and like getting the people they know to just like make a movie and just like no tripods, no nothing, just like very inspiring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think that's about it. Is that about it?
Yeah.
Does that wrap it up? Cool. All right. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Josh, for coming on, bringing the knowledge.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. This was a lot of fun.
I feel honored. I was a little nervous that I was like, I don't know if I can keep up, but
No, you knocked it
was
out of the
fun.
park.
Absolutely did.
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, didn't show it. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're on YouTube, if you could like and comment and subscribe. I know it's cheesy, but it does help us out. It
Can you
gives
do
us
that
up
with
in the app.
podcast, the app too?
You can, yeah.
Apple
it's-
Podcasts, you can leave a review. I
you
think.
can leave a review.
Okay,
yeah.
review.
Leave a 5-star
Yeah,
review.
yeah.
We don't want your 2-star reviews or 3-star reviews.
You know,
Get
you
them
can do
outta here.
whatever you want.
I says you can do whatever you want, but leave a 5-star review. Yeah, and thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yay.